So lovely to see Allan Border join us live on India Today. Good afternoon to you, Allan. First of all, we're missing you here. I thought you'd be here with Gavaskar at the Narendra Modi Stadium at the end of the series to hand over the trophy to India, but you're not, and you're still in Sydney.
Yeah, it's a strange one. We haven't been able to get together for quite a few test series now. I mean, Sonny does a lot more commentary than I do, but I'm just sitting around at my father-in-law's place, not doing anything particular. I'll be watching the TV, obviously a bit later, watching the cricket unfold. But yeah, I'd love to be there to present the trophy. It's a great honour that has been bestowed on Sonny and myself. So yeah, I'd like to actually be there to hand it over to the winning captain and the winning team, but not to be next time.
All right, maybe next time. Next time the series, of course, will be in Australia. India now on a strong footing right now, leading the series 2-1. But Allan, tell me, here there's plenty of excitement as far as this series is concerned, especially because the heads of state, both the Prime Minister from Australia and India, are going to be there on day one of the Ahmedabad Test match. Usually, cricket news back home in Australia also is for the last pages of the newspaper or towards the end of a news bulletin. But has cricket now been dominating the news networks there in Australia simply because the Prime Minister is also here?
Very much so. I mean, the fact that our two countries have played so many good test matches, and this series it's had its controversy, I suppose, because of the pitches, but I don't think the Australians should be too surprised by the fact that they're going to India and had to face the turning ball. But with the two prime ministers there watching cricket, they're both sports fans in particular, and cricket's better for having those senior people come along and watch our game. And the players will be very excited. They want to do their best in front of the boss. And yeah, so it will be interesting to see. I suppose all the talk's been, two pitches, two covers, which pitch they're going to play on. We'll have to wait and see what Sonny comes up with in his pitch report.
All right, yes, he will be doing the pitch report shortly. He did give us a little bit of insight before he went down to do the pitch report, saying that this could be a batting pitch of sorts. But do you reckon also, Allan, because, it's going to be a completely sold out sort of a match, tickets already, you're expecting upwards of 100,000 people turning up to the stadium. Maybe this could be that pitch that will help batsmen, that will get a lot of runs, because you'd want the crowds also to be entertained, and then add to the fact that the prime ministers of both the country are going to be there.
Well, look, I hope there's a bit more in it, for the faster bowlers at the start of the game, and obviously the batsmen will enjoy the ball coming onto the bat a little bit more rather than going out and having to sort themselves out against very good spin bowling on wickets that are helping them. So hopefully there's a bit more, range, if you like, as far as the batsmen can have their say on the first couple of days, and then obviously it will deteriorate and be difficult to play on day 4 or 5. But yeah, look, fingers crossed that's what happens. We'd like to see, because both sides have got some very good batting, very exciting batting, but they've been sort of curtailed a little bit because of the conditions they've played in. Haven't been able to play, that flowing cricket that we sometimes see the Virat Kohlis and these guys, produce. I think particularly that last pitch that the boys played on, I mean, there was a bit of a lottery there as far as, the batsmen. And it was just a really difficult surface to, really make a big score. You're trying to work out, how you're going to get off strike, and yeah, you never felt in. That's the way I looked at it. But yeah, fingers crossed that this pitch at that stadium with, that'd be something else if 130,000 people turn up. That would be fantastic.
All right, Allan, with me is my colleague Gaurav Samant. He's a big cricket fan, and he's been chewing my brains, wanting to know whether now India versus Australia is bigger than the Ashes. So I'll let Gaurav ask you that.
In fact, it's great. It's great to talk to you. My question to you is very simple. 100,000 people watching. Does that add to the pressure on the players? Point one. Point two, with the Australian Prime Minister saying that there's fierce competition between India and Australia. India-Australia competition, is it now harder than the Ashes, tougher than the Ashes?
Yeah, look, you could say that definitely, the way the last sort of half dozen series or more have unfolded, with some classic, hard-nosed cricket from both teams. India starting to win in Australia. So, the games have been very, very tightly played, and Australia have held sway over England over the last few series, particularly in Australia. So, you could say that. England are making a bit of a comeback, aren't they, with this Baz ball? Be interesting to see whether they can maintain that type of cricket against our bowling attack in England. But I'm sure Baz McCullum will have them, fit and firing. But Australia, India, it's right up there. There's no doubt that it's right up there. I think it's just probably tradition, going back, 100 plus years of traditional cricket. Australia, England might just pip Australia, India, but it's getting tighter and tighter all the time. The two countries producing so many special players and special moments in the game.
Well, Alan, you talk about hard-nosed cricket, tough cricket that both India and Australia play. Now, there's been some sort of criticism of the Australian team here in India because the Indians absolutely love the Aussies, especially the kind of teams that we saw under you. Well, ALLAN Border would be here, when Ricky Ponting would be here, Shane Warne, Glenn McGrath. One thing that you always expected from the Australian team, whether win or lose, you knew that they're going to fight till that last ball is bowled. One criticism that is coming this Australian team's way is that they're not as hard-nosed as the previous Australian teams. Do you think that's a fair assessment of the current bunch of Aussies?
I think that's maybe a little harsh. I think they're all, hurt when they don't perform well. They had high hopes when they landed in India that they'd give it a really good shake. We thought that we had enough spinners, enough good fast bowling, and of course a good batting lineup to really give you guys a good run for your money. But look, they seem to get spooked by the pitches. That was just some of the media that we got back here in Australia that, they were looking for gremlins under the covers, that type of thing, leading in that first test. And I thought to myself, well, it's going to be a turning pitch. I mean, you don't even have to go and have a look at the pitch, really. It's going to be a turner. That's just the way it is. So I don't know why they were so surprised. So, look, some of the cricket we played I thought was a bit timid, bit naive. We didn't seem to have a particular game plan other than sweeping the ball, reverse sweep, normal sweep shot. Great shots in the 2020 cricket, but I'm not so sure that it's the right way to go about it in Test match cricket, unless the pitches are very, very good, of course. But the pitches they played on offered the bowlers a lot of help, and they just didn't trust their defence. That's what it seemed like from back here. They just didn't know how to cope with the ball turning, and they just lost their way. They're a better team, as they showed in the third test, than they showed in the first two test matches. So, I'm really looking forward to this next test match and what sort of pitch has been prepared for it.
All right, we're all looking forward to that test match. But this particular broadcast is all about the India-Australia relations. And Alan, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. You've toured India many a times. I'm going to talk about some of the memories. But let's start with that 1987 World Cup win. I remember Eden Gardens. You were playing against England, and I think 100,000 people would have turned up. And out of all of those people that had turned up, to your surprise, I think they were all supporting the Australian team. Then you did a lap of honor. I remember those visuals on television. Did your view of Indians and Indian cricket fans change after that sort of reception that you got, winning the World Cup here on Indian soil?
Yeah. I mean, that was the start of Australia starting to work their way back into, better cricket performances. Up until then, we'd been pretty dry cupboards as far as trophies and things were concerned. We'd struggled for 2 or 3 years there, and it was a little bit against the odds. I mean, there were probably better teams than us actually at that World Cup. The West Indies, England themselves, India, Pakistan. They were tremendous sides, but we were very well drilled, if you like, with our coach Bob Simpson. We really worked hard on those little 1%ers that you can sort of make a difference in games. Just very good fielding. We had a bit of a game plan that we stuck to pretty rigidly, and it sort of worked for us. I mean, we got lucky along the way with a couple of the results, but that you do need a little bit of luck to go right through a World Cup. So, back in 1987, that was absolutely fantastic. The England boys came into our rooms. I mean, there was no sad faces kicking cans around the place. They came in and celebrated, that we'd won, but they had a good tournament themselves. So, from that point of view, that's good to see that camaraderie that's still alive and kicking between combatants. Out in the field, yep, go hard. Off the field, take it easy and enjoy each other's company.
Talking about old memories, we talk about and why India versus Australia has now suddenly emerged as the #1 battle in cricket is because, you have these two tough teams going up against each other. Allan, would you say this sort of rivalry, I know there were many a contest before that, we're celebrating 75 years of India-Australia cricketing relations, but that 1986 tight test match in Chennai, do you think that was the catalyst in terms of turning the India-Australia series as it is right now?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, that was a start. Dean Jones making a double hundred, David Boone, scoring heavily on day one. We were very fortunate. We won the toss in that first game, and as everyone knows, the Chennai pitch back in those days was, a bit of a batsman's paradise. But I still talk to friends about that particular game. We made 574, I think, for about 7 declared, and should have lost the game. So you can have pitches that are batsman friendly to start with, and the game just quickens up as you start getting into days 4 and 5. So it was a fantastic game of cricket. I've asked Ravi a few times why he took a single on the third last ball, but he was sort of adamant that he wanted to tie the game up, and then he was quite confident that Maninder Singh at the other end would get a single somewhere, but wasn't to be. And absolutely fantastic result, just a result, because we'd declared twice, and good on India because they kept chasing the score. I think they had to get 348 or 350, somewhere around there, on the last day. So, fantastic from Rivalry. Every time we'd sort of start attacking, he'd keep whacking them over the top, and so it was an in-out sort of scenario over that last afternoon. It was, it was just the most fantastic, result you can think of, and then just the heroics from Jones and Boone, and Kapil Dev himself made a great 100 in that game. It was just a fantastic game of cricket, and you get some tight results. That doesn't get any tighter than that. And I think the relationships from that particular game, that they were bred, and then of course our own cricket, we started to get a bit more confidence about the group of players we had in the team. And everyone started to, get better and better over the next 12, 18 months. And it was, I suppose we'd been 2 or 3 years in the doldrums. So it was time to get out of that and get on and start winning a few games.
Allan, stay on with us. Couple more questions we'd love to ask you. But before that, Sunny Gavaskar was also talking to India today. And these are his thoughts on this historic India versus Australia test match.
Oh, look, looking forward to this game because,
well, I can tell you this is the first time I've actually I'm coming to the ground when the moon is setting and not the sun is rising, because I've taken a couple of pictures of the moon set as we've come to the ground, and it's still around, so the moon will probably take another 20 minutes for the moon to set. But so it's a different feeling altogether, but quite exciting to have the two leaders of the countries which are going to be doing battle on the cricket field, to have the two leaders coming down to especially watch the game. I think that's a very exciting feeling.
Yeah, and maybe they should go and do the toss.
Saibhai, also in terms of, we're celebrating 75 years of India versus Australia cricketing relations. You've been part of many India versus Australia contests as well. Over the years, that first tour, 1947, and then from there on, what are your abiding memories of India versus Australia cricket?
Yes, I think this rivalry is, I don't know about the Ashes situation, but I think this rivalry definitely is something that the cricket fans of both countries, and in fact, cricket fans all over the world look forward to, because it is well fought. Teams are very, very, very competitive. There's some unbelievable talent in both the teams. There are great players in both the teams. And so therefore, I think cricket is always very exciting when India and Australia play against each other.
All right, Sunny Gavaskar, thanks so much for joining us. He, of course, has to go for the all-important pitch report as well as the toss. But Allan Border still with us. Allan, we were talking about the memories of India versus Australia. You know, there was a time here in India that most Indian cricket fans really looked up to the Australian teams because they were dominating world cricket. You know, the teams that you helmed, the teams later captained by Steve Waugh, then the teams captained by Ricky Ponting, they were really dominating international cricket. And to beat Australia used to be a massive, massive thing here in India. But over the last decade or so, or probably slightly less than that, India have gone on to Australia, won 2 test series there. That's a very uncommon sight. Now dominating at home, this is something India always did. Do you think that balance of power, just in terms of cricketing prowess, has gradually shifted from Australia to India now?
Oh, most definitely. I think India have got the upper hand just at the moment, and they'll get a chance, won't they, in England at the Oval? Looks like these two teams are going to play again in that World Championship game, final game at the Oval. So that will be thrilling in itself, just to watch them go at it in neutral country. But yeah, as you said, the rivalry is just built up slowly but surely. There was a period there where the Australians were very, very dominant, and don't forget, we didn't tour India all that often. We came, like before I came in 1979, we weren't here from 1969. So it's a big gap, you know, between teams playing against each other. So that's how far India have come. I mean, you know, sort of fairly humble beginnings with their cricket team to, you know, just a world power, and probably the world power financially, and with the cricket team they put together. Absolutely fantastic. So, you know, they're winning games away from home. So I'm really looking forward to, well, firstly, this test match, see how this series finishes, and then see how they do battle in neutral territory over at the Oval in London.
Okay, Allan, before we let you go, final question. Tell us a bit about Anthony Albanese. Is he a big cricket fan? I reckon he's not as big a fan as John Howard was. I believe he used to love his cricket. But previously, any incident that you had of a Prime Minister, you know, coming either for a tour game, playing a tour game, anything that you can share with our viewers?
Look, most of the time, remember Bob Hawke? He was a Prime Minister for a lot of years there, and he reignited the Prime Minister's 11 game that was played against the touring team every year. So, you know, he was very big supporter of Australian sport, but particularly our cricket. He wasn't a bad cricketer himself until he got hit in the eye. I don't know whether you've seen that footage, but someone bounced the Prime Minister and hit him right in the eye and smashed his glasses and got a nasty cut. So he took a few for the team. So that's you know, that's the Prime Minister you want to see. And Anthony Albanese is you know, he's a knockabout bloke as well. Loves his sport. He's probably more into rugby league, which you guys wouldn't know much about here. But yeah, it's a pretty tough old sport. And you know, he's from the school of hard knocks, and he's done fantastically well to be in the position he's been in. And yeah, we're really thankful for his support.
All right, Allan Border, thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to India today. Of course, we'll have Allan back a little later in the day to talk about the events that will unfold in Ahmedabad. As we've been building up here on India today, you've got the heads of state, Prime Minister of Australia, Prime Minister of India, going to be witnessing the first day of the test match between India and Australia. This, of course, is the grand finale of the Border Gavaskar series. And just to make your Thursday morning perfect, we had both Border and Gavaskar speaking to you ahead of that historic moment. That's a first, Prime Minister, a bowler bouncing a Prime Minister. There have been occasions of other Prime Minister, Gaurav, I must tell you. I believe Nawaz Sharif once played a touring West Indies game. He said he would love to open, and he went out to open without a helmet. I heard a story from Imran Khan saying that we told him, you know, there is Michael Holding there, there might be Malcolm Marshall. Are you serious you want to go out without a helmet? And the first ball that was bowled to him was a bouncer. So the cricketers don't really care if it's a head of state on the other end.